Hello, 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 hello. Happy Thursday. I'm gonna make this quick because there's people literally working right on my balcony and a bunch of noise is coming on. Hey, buddy, thanks for tuning in. So, what I was reading a book the other day, and what I really liked this quote was don't be a slave to your habits. Now, what that really means is that your habits are things you habitually developed over the course of your life based on other people or things in your life, or not creating boundaries, not being integrity, keeping your word to yourself. So we create these habits that habitually become our own habits without realizing that we can change these habits. It just takes a little bit of time. So I like that phrase, don't be a slave to your habits, because it's just reminding us that these habits are going to pop up, and it's natural for us to act in the way that we have for all of these years, but to not let them dictate where we're going in our life. Yeah, and I feel like that kind of just all mumbled jumbled there, but that line really sat with me because just like everything in our life is a learned behavior. We were born, we didn't know anything, things were taught to us, and that's how we've developed our entire life, unless at some point we've taken it upon ourselves to change and shift these certain ways of being, which, a lot of us haven't done that, until they're older and they realize that their way of being has been affected by everyone else in our surroundings our whole life, and not actually created by ourselves. I feel like I just, again, went in a circle there. But, so I put this on my whiteboard because I'm going to be looking at it every day. Don't be a slave to your habits, because you can learn and develop new habits. The only reason we naturally do the other habits is because they've been happening so long and we haven't tried to correct them. But when everything is a learned behavior, it means that you can unlearn it by learning something else, and by just bringing more of that into our life, which kind of ends up almost replacing the old habit, which is a beautiful thing. So a lot of people will be like, oh well, I sleep 10 hours because my body needs it, or I'm trying to think of a couple examples. Oh, I'm just not meant for more, or my body's not made that way, or, stuff like that. It's that's just stories you're telling yourself to keep yourself small. You don't need, your body doesn't need 10, 11 hours for you to function. You just think that, and then you act that way. And so that's how you show up in your own life, limited by these stories that you create so deeply within yourself that you're convinced that's who you are and that's what your life is. And it's not like that at all. Every single thing we do each day is a choice. Every single thought we can switch and recorrect in a way that serves us instead of in a way that it doesn't serve us. And so really just understanding how powerful language is, and who you are, how you talk, how you show up, how you act, everything like that is a reflection of your natural way of being, who you've wound up being. But you can change all of that. You're not going to get successful if you're doing this and this over here. You're not going to meet that person. When people are like, oh, everyone in the world is shitty. There's no one good to date. No one even likes me, or blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, what you're doing is, by speaking like that, you're putting it out into the universe, and then the universe is giving you exactly what you're talking about. And not to mention, when people are looking to date people or whatever, everyone's always bringing in their old baggage into the next one. And people have like their own insecurities and their own blah 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 blah. And you can notice that everyone's always kind of everyone is always trying to like point fingers at the other person, right? Well, they did this and they did that and they did this, and it's like, okay, well, they might have done those things, but how did you choose to respond to it? And how are you choosing to move forward? Are you choosing to move forward? And yeah, just like really understanding it's a choice. Really understanding that everything in your life is a choice. It was a decision to get in that relationship. It was a decision to move in together. It was a decision to buy this together. It was a decision to do that. And maybe sometimes you weren't actually on board, but you went through with it. It's still a decision. It's still a choice. It's still something you decided on. So it's just like, if you listen to people around you, they're just like constantly complaining about people in their life, or this person here, or this person here, or this person here. But you'll notice that those people aren't trying to become better people. Like if you're a person and you're just walking around every day of your life as an average person, you're not actively trying to become a better person. You're not actively trying to figure out who you are, what you want, what your goals are, everything like that. Then like you have no whatever to say anything about anyone. Like it's just so frustrating hearing people complain and talk shit about others when I want to walk around with just a permanent mirror to be like, cool, look at this reflection, look at yourself. You don't even like, just stop, just stop talking. Just stop talking. And then get curious about your own life. Because if you're going to look at people and judge them for everything that they're not, you better give them credit for everything that they are. Because they deserve that. You can't be focusing on things people aren't. Like, oh, they don't have this, they aren't this, they're a bitch, they looked at me this way, they did blah, 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 blah. You don't actually know anything or thing. Hey, Jacinda. I'm talking today about, I read this book the other day, and there was a phrase that said, don't be a slave to your habits. And I was just explaining how we have these natural habits, and when we want to make a shift or try something, our natural habits will get in the way of us doing something new that we want to be doing, right? So I like that on don't be a slave to your own habits, because when you're letting old habits run your life, it's pretty much like you're a slave to them, when we actually have control in what happens in our life and how we act and what we do and everything like that. So to don't be a slave to your habits. And then I was just kind of sharing that how every single thing in our life is a choice, from, what time we wake up, how we get out of bed, how we brush our teeth, how we go to the bathroom, what we eat, where we go, how we look, how we act, how we do whatever, is literally all a choice. So it's like, if we're choosing so many things in our life like that, why are we then choosing to be negative towards other people and to judge other people when we wouldn't like that if that was happening to us? And that if we're judging people for things that they aren't or things they don't have, then we should judge them and acknowledge them for the things that they do have and all the things they have achieved. Because it's so unfair that us as people only see things as like, we only see things from the outside. Yeah, and it sucks sometimes, like, being categorized as something just because of the way we look or the small interactions someone might have had with us, that, like, I start to look at people as an opportunity, and it really is nice thinking about it like that, because every single person has dealt with something one way or another, and every single person has something they can teach someone of some sort. but we're always just like in this realm of thinking that this person is this, or there's no one good to date, there's no one nice, there's no one this. And I'm explaining that like everyone seems to want other people to show up for them in their life in a capacity that suits them. But when people aren't actually doing the work on themselves, how can you have such expectations from other people when people aren't actively taking, initiative and working on themselves? So, and that's why I'm because the people who are learning more to work on themselves, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I said to her, even if you had the person that was perfect for you show up for you in your life right now, if you had this person who you wrote down, you know what you want, and if they showed up for you right now in your life, most people wouldn't even be able to handle it. They would self-sabotage, they'd end up ruining it, and then they'd be upset, and then they'd go back to thinking, oh, there's no one in this world for me, no one likes me, blah, 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 blah. Hey, Charles. But it's that, like, the things that we want, we think that if it showed up right now, we'd be able to handle it. But you can't handle it because you haven't been doing the work on yourself. We have to get to a mental state in our own body and be confident and be working on ourselves and be seeing the growth within ourselves to even be able to have that successful relationship with the kind of person we're looking for, because we can't write down on paper that we want this, this, and this, and this, and then not show up on our own side that way, because it just wouldn't match up, right? So to really get clear on what it is in your life you think that will make you happy, figuring out why you think it's going to take for you to get that to be happy instead of being happy right now. And then kind of just get clear on if that's something that's realistic and attainable, what small actions can you take towards going and making it happen? Because again, the more clear we can get with ourselves, if someone was saying they're looking for the perfect dress, and I'm like, okay, so like, what does this perfect dress look like? Well, I don't know. Okay. Does it have straps? Does it not have straps? What color is it? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's straps, maybe no straps. So as you can see, where I'm going with this is that if we're not specific on things we want, then how will we know if we even got them? How will you know if that was the perfect dress? You didn't even know what you were looking for. You didn't even have specifics. You didn't even have boundaries. You just said you want the perfect dress, and then you had no idea what it looked like. You had no idea what you're looking for. And then so this right here, this could be the perfect dress disguised as something that's not really that perfect at all. But when we first seen it, we're like, wow, this is beautiful. It's so beautiful. Oh my God, it's perfect. I found it. And then you go home. You try it on the day after, or a week later, the event comes, you try it on, you actually hate it. It's not that perfect. You're not even sure why you thought it was a perfect dress, but in the moment, you got tired of searching, you saw this dress, it sparked your attention, and it was better than the rest of the dresses that you saw. And so you were like, this is the perfect dress. And now I like where I'm going with this because it very adds up to a lot of things in our life, but I'm going to relate it to relationships. So that's what happens. When you don't know what you're looking for, when you don't know what your boundaries are, when you don't know what you require from someone, then a lot of these people are going to be disguised as the perfect dress because you start talking, or they make you feel a little good, and you get an idea, you think they're cute, and you're interested and they make you laugh and like you had a really good chat on the phone. And as you can see, we get caught up in thinking that like, okay, when we go into something with no expectations, no vision, no idea what we're looking for, no clue, then anyone who shows up or any dress that shows up in our space that intrigues us for a little bit, we kind of get excited about. We're like, ooh, I could totally wear this dress. Or like, oh, I could totally date this guy. I could totally date this girl. They seem great. They're attractive. They're fun. They're outgoing. Are they though? Because really, all you're seeing is this idea of them. Because that's what happens when people first meet. You get an idea of them. You don't know if what they're telling you is the truth or the lie, or you don't know if they're telling you something you want to hear. So that's why it's clear that we walk into something with a list and some boundaries, because I can be like, yeah, this person's, really attractive and they're really nice, but I'm actually really interested in someone who likes fitness and they hate fitness. So that wouldn't work for me, right? And it's like, oh, I want someone who does this and they don't do that. And it's like, oh, but they're so hot and they're so nice and the sex is great. Like, so it's not sustainable. It's not long term. It's a crush. It's not anything else right now. It's getting caught up in the idea of something. It's an idea. Because if you're honest with yourself and if you have that list and you have this person in front of you and you trust your gut enough that your gut knows you, that when you look at this list and you look at them and they don't have X, Y, and Z, you can confidently say this isn't working. It isn't a give and take thing. It's not like they have 3 out of 5 things that are really important to me, and I think that's great because they're also really attractive and they're really this and blah, blah, blah. Stop selling yourself short. Stop selling out on yourself. Stop only accepting few things, because if you start off something with a couple of things, and that you're already lowering your standards. And then so what do you think is going to continue to happen throughout the relationship? There's no room for them going up. You've already lowered them. And then what happens is people's true colors start to shine even more, because you got to think at the beginning, everyone's nice. Everyone's this great person and blah, blah, blah. And then, you're getting lower and lower and lower. And by that time, you had your emotions invested. Who knows what happened? Maybe you moved in. Maybe you did something crazy. Maybe you got an animal because you're so convinced you're in love because, they came out of this, no, you weren't even supposed to be here, and they met you. And, everyone has a huge story about why something should be happening. Instead of sitting back, looking at the facts, they don't have this. I don't want this. Trust yourself enough to not go through this situation, because honeymoon phase is huge. So true. Just had to remove myself from toxic situation, and at first it was great. Well, I'm really proud of you for removing yourself from that. And you can see the whole pattern of everyone, right? Because we all want someone. We all like feeling appreciated and flattered and loved and all of this stuff. But we really truly have to trust ourselves in that we know what's best for us. We really do. And our gut knows more than the most. So if you're feeling something in your gut, trust it. So it all relates back to everything in life, is that if you don't have a plan, how can you expect to even get there? And how will you even know if you found that perfect dress, or you found that great person, or you found that car, or you found that whatever? Is that it all relates back to having a vision, being intentional, writing it down, being clear on what you want. And when something pops up in your life that doesn't have what you want, we trust ourselves enough to say, no thanks. You seem like a great person, but you just don't have what I want. or saying no to that dress, even if that means that you spent 8 hours today and you didn't find a dress you liked. Don't just buy the last dress, because it's not perfect and you're not going to feel amazing in it. Just like this person over here. Be very clear and intentional on what you're looking for and look for those things. But also credit people for the things that they are, and don't poke. Don't poke and point, and just get curious on why people are the way they are, why they show up the way they do, and really just maybe what kind of life they've had in order for them to act and be this way. Because if you can look around and understand that every single person has had their own experience of life, their own way they perceive things, their own this, their own that, that like no one is right or wrong. It's just actually their way of being. And you can look at people sometimes and think, oh my God, like they're such an asshole, or they're this or that. But like that person actually believes that their way of being is right. So there's no sense in arguing with people. It's just about getting curious on why people see things the way they do, why they feel the way they do, etc., etc. So cool. This went on a bit longer than I expected today, but I'm always having a blast on here. Appreciate everyone for tuning in always. And just a reminder of really getting clear on things you want in your life and writing them down. Because without a vision, you can't achieve it. You don't know if you're ever like you could be there and you don't know if you're ever there because you don't have a vision and you don't know what it is you're looking for. So get clear. Thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate you all. And I'll see you tomorrow for another live session at 12. Whoa!